sometimes I've seen therapists use safety as a precursor, but it has to be safe enough, because when you relive the trauma, you're going to feel somewhat unsafe. You can't avoid it. I would argue a layer, which he sort of alluded to, was that if you relive your trauma and you flood your therapist, or you flood the person you're with, that person is going to shut down your trauma, and that'll be a re-traumatization based on the person who can't contain your flooding. So he's pointing, you need to be embodied in your body, so they teach you that first, because they know that a lot of therapists cannot hold space for intense trauma. So they have to anchor both the therapist and the patient fully grounded, contained, and then they gradually dive into the trauma with that pendulation and all the other techniques. Let's try to simplify yoga and mindfulness, that your traumatic memories are lost in time, or it doesn't have a time signature. I think that was covered earlier. So that to counter that reliving of the traumatic memory, because since it doesn't have the time signature, if the memory floods your system, it can trick your brain that you're reliving it, and you're thinking you're going through the same traumatic experience. So that's why the term re-traumatize yourself has this sort of harsh edge that's dangerous. But re-traumatizing yourself is because you lost touch with your time. You're reliving it. It feels like it's happening now. And then if you're getting traumatized from a therapist, you're getting their dump of their past trauma on top of your trauma, which makes it more confusing. So by doing yoga, mindfulness, or present moment anchoring practices, that'll give you an anchor, or a stable base, so then you can sort of feel out that there's a traumatic memory that's somewhere lost in time, and then there's your body that's present moment. That was Farhad's earlier point, where he's able to notice the traumas in a certain part of his body, and he's able to find the anchored part of his body to hold those two focuses. And that's somewhat advanced, but I would say. The therapist is supposed to hold that present moment awareness and contain you, and then that allows you to sort of swim in the muck of distorted time to try to sort out what's now, what's past, what's the future.
To have the self-awareness?
It's a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So just like you can create a muscle for better narration and better language, there's a muscle for awareness, for presence, for groundedness, for playing with emotions. So it's a different circuit. So if you're trying to use your rational brain to control your emotional circuit, then it's going to seem futile.
Okay. Is the idea to remain in the now primarily, or 100%, or what are we talking about? In other words, where does our mind stray? Can we have future? With the past, we have to be careful of because of the trauma. We want to stay here in the present, but yet we still have to go in the future. You know what I mean? I'm blurring all this.
Well, we don't want to worry about the future, but we want to make plans for the future.
Exactly, right? Something hopeful.
Well, you have to know where you are. So if you go to a map in a mall and you want to go to find a place, where do you start?
You are here.
You have to find you are here. So if your moment to moment self-awareness doesn't know where you are here, then you can find somewhere, but you're not going to be able to get from point A to B because you don't know where you are. You are here. So that's your moment to moment self-awareness just tells you where you are. That's a muscle. So if you go to a place that's a new place, it takes a while to navigate and find the spot or whatever, but by the time you go there 5 times, a lot of your driving and getting there and finding a spot or whatever, that becomes autopilot. So you have more resources to and take in new information. But if you're present moment awareness, centering your ability to find a place of comfort, if that's always off balance, you don't have that much extra bandwidth to take in new experience. And then maybe a narcissist is actually looking for someone who just feels who looks a little off, and that's one of their tells. That this person needs guidance, this person is lost, so there's an access. This person isn't going to see the deception that other people will see.
So when I get to the place where I'm comfortable with myself, I like myself, I'm okay, then I can go back, I look at my trauma and look at it through the lens of me being here right now. Okay, I'm good. And I can even take that feeling going forward in the future and say, I'm still good when I do this or that. So it's just me being me and knowing who me is and liking it.
That's good. So if you can take you now, that you're comfortable in your skin now, then if you can go back into your trauma and revisit your inner child part and say, look, I survived all that crap.
Yes.
We made it. Now come join me. So you have to go rescue your... So come join me. It's okay here. Let's go move into the future. Mm-hmm. But you have to, you have to be grounded or whatnot, or that's the being comfortable in your skin, because otherwise, if you're lost now and you go back to your inner child, which is always lost, you got two lost people that are lost on it.
Right.
Well, your inner child has like unexpressed secrets and expression. So if you get that inner child, you get a creative spark that maybe you're missing now. Then that spark will give you a lot of fuel for the future.
The future, yeah.
So you have unmet needs in your soul that maybe your inner child had that got squashed. So it's advantageous to you to go back into your inner child to get that creative spark, that love, that pure energy, so that you can go into the future.
And to try to merge my past self into my present self with what I know, right, with what I know now. Okay. I love this time stuff.